Live from the drama-free true crime destination. No fog, no fables, just the moments, the milestones, and the memories that still matter. This is a throwback. And welcome inside the drama-free true crime destination. I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw. This is Bethea'S Byte, and like you heard in the intro, this is a throwback. Tonight, I'm going to take a look at the Madeline Soto case, and I think might be one of those cases where I should put the trigger warning up uh, because there is so much meat on this particular bone that I'm covering here on this evening, and there's a lot of information that needs to be taken in. So let's get settled in. Let's get ready because we got a lot to go on. Let's see. Let me give my opening statement to go ahead to kick this thing off right. Tonight's throwback isn't about nostalgia. It's about remembrance. It's about accountability. And it's about a 13-year-old girl who never had a chance because every adult who should have protected her either failed her, ignored her, or in one sick perverted adult's case, preyed on her. This is the story of Madeline Sophia Soto, a child whose life was stolen long before her body was found, a child whose innocence was taken long before the world knew her name, a child who deserved better from the people closest to her. Tonight, we walk through this tragedy in three parts, in three arcs: the child, the mother, and the predator. And we do it not to reopen wounds, but to make sure the truth never gets buried with her. Welcome to Throwback. Let's begin with our first act: the child that never had a chance. In fact, before I even start with that, I want to open this up with this photo. If it'll pull up for me, or maybe that's it. Okay. Okay, here I am. And I just blew myself right up. There we go. Madeline Soto. Madeline Soto was just 13 years old. 13. That's the age where you're supposed to be awkward, curious, hopeful, and growing into yourself. But Madeline never got that chance. She lived in a home where the man her mother trusted, the man who should have been a protector, was instead the source of her greatest danger. Investigators later uncovered years of abuse, years of grooming, years of control, years where Madeline was isolated, silenced, and trapped. Her father said it best in court: "I'll never get to see the woman she'd become." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the tragedy at the center of this case. A life interrupted, a future erased, a child failed by the very people who should have been her shield. Now, our second act revolves around the mother who knew too much and admitted too little, too late. Jennifer Jen Soto has not been charged with a crime, but her absence, her silence, and her choices hang over this case like a shadow. She lived in the same home where the abuse happened. She was in a relationship with the man who was harming her daughter. She was present for the years when Madeline was being controlled and exploited. And when the time came for the family to speak in court, when the grandmother spoke, when the aunt spoke, when the father spoke, the mother did not. Her silence is not a legal verdict, but it's a moral one. Because sometimes the question isn't, what did you do? Sometimes the question is, what didn't you do? And in this case, the silence speaks louder than any statement she could have made. Before I continue, before I even touch on the predator, I want to take you to a few bullet points I gathered, followed by the article courtesy of our friends at People Magazine. Let's go back to the 13-year-old who never had a chance. Madeline Soto was a child on the edge of adolescence, a girl who should have been thinking about school, friends, and her next birthday. Instead, she spent the last years of her life abused in silence. She disappeared on February 26, 2024, the day after her 13th birthday. Her body was found 4 days later in a wooded area off Hickory Tree Road. Investigators discovered images and videos of Stephen Stearns' phone and Google Drive showing him raping Madeline, dating back to when she was 11 years old. Now, before I continue, let me go ahead and remind everybody. I'm the last outlaw because of circumstances, and on the internet, I'm the last outlaw because I tell it like it is. I don't sugarcoat it for the internet. I don't say the nice words for it. I speak in facts. Anybody's got a problem, you know how to get in touch with me. Facebook, X, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, email. Stearns had been abusing Madeline for up to 4 years, according to the prosecutors. Here's why she never had a chance. 1, she lived with a predator who had full access to her. 2, she lived with a mother who failed to protect her. We'll get to her in a second. 3, she lived in a home where the abuse was not only ongoing, it was escalating. And 4, she was isolated, controlled, and groomed. And as you can see, as I'm going along with this, I'm getting angry and I'm getting emotional because of it. which is taking me right to the emotional core. I mentioned that Madeline's father said in court that he would never get to see the woman she'd become, and it's all because his words, not mine. It's because of the actions of this depraved man, referring to Soto. Excuse me, referring to Stearns. Then there's the mother who knew too much and admitted too little too late. I mentioned what how her silence spoke. Her role in this case is one of the most painful and controversial elements of this case because she was in a relationship with Stephen Stearns for years. She lived in the same home where the abuse occurred. She was present during the period when Stearns was abusing Madeline, but where was she in the courtroom? When her own family delivered impact statements, where was she? Not with the family, not in the courtroom. She's not been charged with a crime, but the public and Madeline's extended family had three questions for that. What did Jen know? When did Jen know it? And most importantly, why didn't Jen protect her daughter Madeline? The grandmother and aunts delivered emotional statements in court. The mother did not because she wasn't there. Her absence from the courtroom during the plea is symbolic. It speaks to a pattern: late, limited, and insufficient action in the face of her daughter's suffering. Let me take you right to this article courtesy of People magazine. When 13-year-old Madeline Soto vanished on February 26, 2024, what began as a desperate search for the missing teen quickly unraveled into something far more horrifying. Madeline was first reported missing when she failed to arrive at school. Her mother's boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, initially claimed he had dropped her off that morning, but investigators quickly discovered via surveillance footage that he had never done so. On February 28, 2024, 2 days after Madeline went missing, Stearns was arrested on charges of sexual battery and possession of child sexual abuse material. He was identified early as the prime suspect in her disappearance. Madeline's body was found days later on March 1st, 2024, and Stearns was charged with first-degree murder. Nearly 2 months later, he pleaded no contest to first-degree premeditated murder and guilty to multiple sexual battery counts in July 2025 and was given 21 life sentences, according to NBC News. So what happened to Madeline Soto? Here's everything to know about her disappearance and her murder. Hold on tight, folks. This is going to get ugly. Madeline Sophia Soto was born in February 2011 to Jennifer Soto and Tyler Wallace. She attended Hunter's Creek Middle School in Orlando, Florida, where she lived in an apartment with her mom and her mother's boyfriend, Stearns. Wallace lives in Texas with his wife, according to WFTV Channel 9, and communicated mainly with Madeline through social media. Maddie was just the most important person to my wife and I, he told the news outlet. Madeline loved music, dancing, art, and journaling, according to the community members who attended a memorial for her according to WESH. So what happened to Maddie? Madeline was reported missing by her mother on February 26, 2024, after she failed to show up for school at Hunters Creek Middle School. Madeline was supposed to have been dropped off at school by her mother's boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, but surveillance footage later confirmed that he never arrived. We believe she was already dead at the time and that Stephen Stearns moved her body in the early morning hours on that day. We have video evidence that shows Stearns discarding items in a dumpster in that apartment complex in Kissimmee at 7:35 a.m. on Monday, February 26, and that's according to Orange County Sheriff John W. Mina during a March 1st press conference. Detectives later recovered Madeline's backpack and her school-issued laptop from the dumpster. At 8:19 a.m., we have evidence that shows Stearns returning to the complex, and Madeline was visible in that vehicle, continued Mina. We believe she was already dead at that time. Just hours after the press conference, law enforcement discovered Madeline's body in a remote wooded area near St. Cloud, Florida. What was Madeline Soto's cause of death? A medical examiner determined Madeline's cause of death as strangulation. The medical examiner ruled the manner of her death as a homicide, according to reports from Fox 35 Orlando, WESH, and Click Orlando. Was there evidence of sexual abuse in Madeline Soto's case? During the investigation, forensic analysis uncovered images and videos of sexual abuse of a child on Stearns' phone. And again, this is according to WESH, WFLA, and Fox 35 in Orlando. Additionally, in an arrest affidavit, police alleged that Stearns had abused Madeline when she was 11 years old. In an interview with detectives shortly before Madeline's body was found, Jennifer Soto claimed she had no idea that Stearns was sexually abusing her daughter. She insisted she tried watching her like a hawk, but added that she was oblivious to everything. Despite her denial, Jennifer allegedly sent Madeline to sleep in the same room as Stearns. WESH reported in June 2024 after reviewing a document from the state attorney's office. She reportedly told police that she did so because she had a long day at work and needed to rest. After being showed evidence, including photographs, Jennifer allegedly conceded to detectives, "He's been grooming and abusing my child." She claimed that Stearns was a master liar and accepted that his account of Madeline's disappearance was untrustworthy. So the question still asked, who killed Madeline Soto? But we already know that answer. Here's what People magazine said this on February 28th, 2024, 2 days after Madeline went missing. Stearns was arrested on charges of sexual battery and possession of child sexual abuse material. From the earliest stages of the investigation, he had emerged as the primary suspect in her disappearance. Stearns was charged with first-degree murder on April 24th, 2024, according to court documents obtained by People magazine. So where is Stephen Stearns, or as Court TV's Julie Grant calls him, Sicko Stearns now. Stearns initially entered a not guilty plea to the 60 counts of sexual battery and 1 count of murder he faced. Then, on July 21st, 2025, the same day his sexual battery trial was set to begin, he pleaded no contest to first-degree premeditated murder. Stearns also pleaded guilty to 8 counts of capital sexual battery of someone under the age of 12, 5 counts of sexual battery of someone between the ages of 12 and 18, and 7 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation. The same day, Stearns was given 21 life sentences, which will be served concurrently. Tyler Wallace told the court, courtesy of NBC News, "Because of the actions of this depraved man, I will never meet the woman she was becoming, and I can't grasp it." Law enforcement right now has confirmed that Jennifer is not considered a suspect, and there are no plans to charge her in connection with Madeline's death, according to WFTV Channel 9. Jennifer has not made any public statements or appeared in media interviews since Stearns was arrested. In April 35, Orlando reported had been disconnected. Like I said earlier, the silence speaks louder than any statement that Jen Soto could have made. Which now brings us to Act 3, the Predator, who took a plea to avoid the ultimate punishment. Stephen Stearns, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason we're here. Stephen Stearns is the man who spent years harming a child he should have protected. This man who escalated his abuse until it ended in murder. A man who knew the evidence against him was overwhelming. So overwhelming that he took a plea deal to avoid the ultimate punishment. He pleaded guilty to dozens of charges. He pleaded no contest to murder. And in exchange, the prosecutors removed the death penalty. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. Wait a minute, I'm forgetting something, guys. We see the angel before us in Madeline Soto. Where there was an angel, there has to be a devil, right? There's your devil. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. No parole, no appeals, no second chances. And while some may have wanted a harsher sentence, myself included, the family chose certainty over spectacle. They chose finality over years of re-traumatization. They chose to close the door permanently on the man who destroyed their daughter's life. But let's look at this thing from his angle, shall we? Stearns, like I said, is right at the center of this legal case and the embodiment of its horror. He faced one count of first degree murder and over 60 counts of child sexual abuse, including capital sexual battery. The photos and videos of him raping Madeline, deleted files recovered from his phone, and the pattern of abuse dating back to when she was just 11 years old. Now, as I mentioned before, he originally pleaded not guilty to all counts, to all charges. He then decided to change his mind. He pleaded guilty to the sex abuse charges and no contest to the murder. In exchange, the prosecutors removed the death penalty and he received multiple life sentences in prison without parole. Now, you all know me. You know me. You know how much I loathe plea deals. Excuse me. So, why did he take it? He took that plea deal because the evidence was overwhelming. He took that deal because the trial would have been catastrophic for him. I mean, you got photos and videos, photos and videos, photos and videos, photos and videos. You talk about overwhelming evidence. You could stack one right on top of the other, presented it in court, and no jury in the world, unless they were just out of their gourd, would would acquit this man. And on top of it, he took that deal because he knew the death penalty was on the table and he knew he wouldn't survive it. So why did the family accept it? As the family's counsel said, it takes away all the appeals of a death penalty case. They chose certainty over spectacle and chose finality over years of re traumatization. Yeah, I know this is one of my kind of sort of shorter editions of Bethea'S Byte Reloaded, but in this one, I'm kind of it's kind of a mix of a look back and a look back at this case, and at the same time, it's also kind of like a special edition of Mondays in Memoriam on a Thursday night. I want to say this before I end up wrapping this thing up. There are cases we cover because they're news, and then there are cases we cover because they're warnings. Madeline Soto's story is both. It's not just a crime story, it's a warning that danger doesn't always knock on the door. Sometimes it has a key. Sometimes it sits at the dinner table. Sometimes it even smiles for the camera. Madeline Soto's story is about a child who should have been safe. It's a story about a home that should have been sanctuary. It's a story about a predator who hid behind the mask of trust. It's a story about a community that had to learn the truth the hardest way possible. When we look back at this case, we're not just revisiting a crime, we're confronting a pattern that shows up in too many homes, too many families, too many headlines, a pattern where control masquerades as care, where manipulation masquerades as authority, and where silence becomes the weapon that keeps the truth buried. Madeline Sophia Soto didn't get to grow up. She didn't get to choose her future. She didn't get the protection every child deserves. But we, the ones still here, we get to choose something. We get to choose vigilance. We get to choose awareness. We get to choose to speak up when something feels wrong, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's close to home. Because predators don't fear the dark, they fear exposure. They fear communities that pay attention. They fear people who refuse to look away. Madeline's voice was taken, yet her story still speaks loudly, clearly, urgently. And if we're going to honor her, then we honor her by refusing to let her story fade into the archive. We honor her by recognizing the signs in our own communities. We honor her by protecting the children who can't protect themselves. Let me slip into my alter ego, the Sentinel. Justice is not what happens in a courtroom. This is the truth. Justice is not what happens in a courtroom. Justice is what we do with the lessons left behind. Madeline Soto deserved better. And the best way to honor her is to make sure the next child gets what she didn't. Madeline's voice was silent, but her story still speaks. And we will keep telling it. So I wrote that, and then I thought about the weight of what we owe our children, and a lot of what I have here, I just got finished saying. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover this as my final word. There are cases we cover because they're shocking, and there's cases like this we cover because they're warnings. And yeah, I mentioned it. Madeline's story is both. It's a warning about the dangers that hide in plain sight. It's a warning about the predators who don't lurk in the shadows, but sit right at your dinner table. It's a warning about the adults who look the other way, who stay silent, who convince themselves that everything's fine when everything is not. 13-year-old Madeline Soto didn't get to grow up. She didn't get to choose her future. She didn't get the protection every child deserves. But we, the ones who are still here, we get to choose something. We get to choose vigilance. We get to choose awareness. We get to choose to speak up when something feels wrong, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it hits close to home. Predators don't fear the dark. They fear exposure. They fear the communities that pay attention. They fear the people like you and me that refuse to look away. Sure, Maddie's voice was taken. She was silenced, but her story still speaks. We're going to refuse to let her story fade into the archive. We're going to recognize the signs in our own communities, and we're going to protect the children who can't protect ourselves. That's how we're going to honor Madeline Sophia Soto. Did she deserve better? Yes, she did. Did she deserve protection? Yes, she did. Did she deserve to be cared for? Yes. She definitely deserved better than what she got. And the best way to honor her is to make sure that the next child gets what she didn't. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the final word. At least that's the final word that I had written. All I can say is, in my heart of hearts, Stephen Stearns is right where he deserves to be. Yeah, he was supposed to be the guy that's supposed to have been a protector for Maddie. He's supposed to have been there as a protector for Jen. But instead, he turned out to be the monster. He turned out to be the predator. And Maddie Soto, unfortunately, was the prey. The end result, she's gone. The end result is that the predator is locked in his cage. How long is he locked in this cage? The rest of his life. And to think he had all those photos and all the video evidence as he had all that evidence to be used against him. All that evidence to be used against him. Thank you so much for joining me here at the Drama Free True Crime Destination. Please be sure to follow all that evidence to be used against him. And he ends up deciding he's going to plead guilty to all those sexual abuse counts and no contest to first degree premeditated murder. And the saddest thing of it all, and I've covered this every which way I could. The one person you would think would have spoke out more pretty much stayed silent until it was too late. Jen Soto, well, in the words my dad would use, she waited long and she waited wrong. She had a chance to speak out during Stephen Stern's sentencing. We heard from the grandmother, we've heard from the aunts, we heard from dad. But where was Mom Jen? Where was she? She decided to hide. She decided to disconnect her phone. As far as I'm concerned, I know she hasn't been charged with anything. Yeah, I get that. But she should have. In my opinion, she should have. Why? I'm coming in close and I want everybody to catch my mouth and my words, okay? Here's why I say Jen should have been charged. She allowed it to happen repeatedly. She even admitted it herself. She was supposed to be watching. She was supposed to be watching Maddie like a hawk, but still ended up being oblivious to everything. Really, really, he's doing all this, that, and the third right under your nose. And for you, Jen, it's like you know those three animated monkeys. See nothing, hear nothing, So nothing. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Jennifer Soto all in one. That was Jennifer Soto all in one. And honestly, it made me sick to my stomach hearing that. So, recapping, we have a 13-year-old dead, never had a chance to get out of that awkward, curious, growing into herself phase. Dad said you'd never get the chance to see her grow into adulthood. We've got a mom who's pretty much in hiding now. Phone disconnected, won't talk to nobody, didn't barely even talk to anybody during the investigation. And then you got the predator himself. Over 60 charges of child sexual abuse. And then the cherry on top of the sundae, ugh, first degree murder. Let me get a quick look here. See exactly where he's incarcerated. Okay, I'm looking at this courtesy of Wikipedia. Maybe I'll get to share this with you. Let's see. All right, that's what I'm talking about. All right, now that I got that, oh my. Let me back this off a little bit. And I'll give you the I'll take a look like I promised, and I'll tell you exactly where Sicko Stearns, shout out to Julie Grant for the name, where Sicko Stearns is being incarcerated at, and how long he's gonna be there. Drat doesn't say. Oh, But you're gonna love this, guys. You're gonna love this. On June 10th. Okay, this is when they took the death penalty off the table on July 21st. They cited the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to argue that the death penalty was a form of cruel and unusual punishment. Hold up. Wait a minute. Cruel and unusual punishment? What about the abuse that Madeline Soto suffered? Wasn't that cruel and unusual punishment from the time she was 11 years old? Hmm. Yeah. Then I'll just move my face over here. There we go. I think that works out a little bit better. Um, they made a memorial bench, or at least one was proposed to be had in a park in St. Cloud, Florida, to commemorate Madeline Soto, and a T-shirt drive being organized to fund it. Oh, I just wish I knew where that six so and so was being incarcerated. It's a sad state, a really sad state when a child is killed, abused by the one that's supposed to protect her. And then on top of it, you've got the mom who's oblivious to it all. Her words, not mine. And the monster, oh, the monster who was accused of it all. The bottom line is, like I said, twice over already. Madeline Soto deserved a lot better than what she got, and it's up to us now. It's up to us now to make sure the next child gets that better. We already have a story of such, like Madeline Soto's story. Only difference being the victim wasn't sexually abused, but she did have a mother who not only refused to cooperate, but may have been the one who had a hand in her own child's death. And right now, we're still seeking justice for one Melody Buzzard. Her mother's on trial, was about to go on trial for her daughter's murder. She filed she pled not guilty. But if she's not guilty, then why during the search for missing Melody at that time, why didn't she say anything? When the missing persons flyers went up, she ripped them down. Why was that? What's that about? Again, if you're the one concerned about that child's well being, your voice should be the loudest voice in the room. Ashley Buzzard, just like Jen Soto, crickets, silence. You barely hear me drop. You got nothing from them. Unlike Jen Soto, Ashley Buzzard's got a title, criminal defendant, murder defendant. And she could get the rest of her life behind bars too. Just like Stephen Stearns got 21 of those to be served concurrently. And yeah, a lot of us say that sentence should have been a lot worse than what it was. Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. 21 life sentences? If I were the judge in that case, this is just me speaking. You can drop in your thoughts in the comments section. But if it were me, those 21 life sentences would have been served consecutively. That way, I would have made sure. I would have made good and sure that Stephen Stearns was not getting out. Period. Point blank. But then again, maybe this judge did do the right thing. 21 life sentences and like the soap opera said and Peabo Bryson sung the theme song for it. We only have one life to live. "21 life sentences served concurrently." Yeah. Let's see. Well, at least that's another. That's a few more girls safe. That's a few more kids safe for now. That's gonna wrap it up for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for allowing me this time. Come on to your computer screens. Talk about a past true crime case that hasn't gone that far back at all. If you like everything you saw, please, I would love to hear from you. So like, share, subscribe, and comment to support the channel. This is the free way to support us. Or you can also do so financially by going to PayPal, paypal.me at EKB316, or cash.app $EKB316. Nothing obligated, but it's always appreciated. And if, like I said earlier, when I made mention about how I speak on certain things, especially in true crime, I don't sugarcoat a thing. If you got a problem with me the way I speak, hmm, well, here you go. Hit me up on Facebook at Bethea'S Byte Reloaded, on Twitter, or excuse me, X. Excuse me, Mr. Elon Musk, X at EKB316. Right here on YouTube at Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. Instagram, EKB316. The difference is on X, it's all caps. On Instagram, lowercase. On TikTok at King of Hearts 316 2021, or you can email me, King of Hearts 316 _09 at outlook.com. All right. Let's see if I can go ahead and put the final kibosh before I get up out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the home. This is your home for true crime news without the drama, where your opinions matter, where lively debates are encouraged, your voice is heard, and above all else, justice is served. And how do I do it every time? The same way, with no gimmicks, with no drama, and without a doubt, no BS. I appreciate you all being here. Let's do this again next time. Until then, this is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded. Thank you so much for joining me here at the drama-free true crime destination. Please be sure to follow Bethea'S Byte Reloaded all over social media and support the channel through PayPal and Cash App. You can get your true crime news right here with no gimmicks, no drama, and no BS. This is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded.